Guys, we have said that Mike Gittens is a busy man, and he is on the road right now in Neville Arena in Auburn, Alabama. Mike, how you feeling, my friend? I know you're on the road right now.
I'm feeling good. We had basketball media days the last couple days. The men went yesterday, the women went today. Johnnie Harris spoke to the media about her team and where she feels like they're going to be at. Bruce Pearl did the same. I think it's exciting times on the plains, Rex, for both men's and women's basketball.
And that's where we're actually going to start this War Rapport Wednesday. Let's talk about the men coming into the season just outside of the top 10 in the AP polls. Still impressive considering where this was when Bruce got to the Plains. But how do you feel? Was 11 the appropriate rating for this, or do you think that they're a little like being overlooked a little bit here?
No, I think 11 is an appropriate rating. And you got to remember, they're going to have some chances to prove themselves early in the season, Rex. So they get to go to Cameron Indoor and play Duke on December 4th. And I think that that game will tell us a lot about whether that rating is appropriate or not. Auburn has a pretty difficult non-conference this year, and I think they're looking forward to being tested and showing the world what they can do. Now, obviously, Aiden Holloway went to Alabama. They replaced him with JP Pegues. They believe they upgraded as far as scoring is concerned with JP. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out there for the Tigers. But 11 is appropriate. I think that's the appropriate amount of respect. And quite honestly, in past years, they've really been disrespected in the lower part of the top 25 rank. So this is an upgrade for Bruce Pearl's squad in terms of expectations and also just recognizing what he's built here and the players that he has returning.
Outstanding, right there. Really excited to see all that. You mentioned this could be one of the greatest teams that he had. Did Bruce, obviously he's not gonna say we're the greatest of all time here, but he's gonna express his excitement and enthusiasm for the roster. Was that reflected in his media day appearance?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, obviously the coup of the offseason was getting Johni Broome to come back. Now, he mentioned during media days that Johni would have been taken late in the second round had he decided to go. He went and he played G League and it's this is the second year straight that they pulled off something by trying to convince who a player who's widely going to be believed to be one of the best players in the country to come back to your squad. What you're seeing in college basketball today, it's not always the most talented, it's the most experienced teams that are making it far in the tournament. So having that experience return, I think is huge for Bruce Pearl and his squad.
That is invaluable. You're absolutely right. A guy who's been through the grind of an SEC tournament and then been through the pressure of trying to make the dance is always so crucial to have. You've also talked about how great these women are going to be, and you have me on the bandwagon here, my friend. Talk to us about just that sheer talent that Coach Johnny is bringing to the Plains, and was that reflected kind of in her statements that we have a team here that Auburn can be very proud of come basketball season.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Johnnie Harris is building something very, very special here on the Plains. It started with Talia Scott, the big time transfer they got. Now, she was a top 15 player in all of high school basketball when she came out. She committed to Arkansas. Now she's on the Plains, and she led the SEC in scoring quietly before, personal reasons had her not able to finish her season in Arkansas, but she was the SEC leading scorer last year up until about late March or early April. So that was an absolute dynamite get for Johnnie Harris. And then she went out and she got Deanna Gaston from Texas. Now, Deanna can play the five, she can play the four. Look, she can shoot well enough to play the three. She is Harris's most flexible player, Rex. And quietly, she, as talented as Talia is, Deanna might be the best player on this team. I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing her play because she can stretch the floor. Now, from the point part guard position, you're missing Jemiah Mingo Young, her leadership and her experience, but Johnnie Harris might not be done with this roster just yet. I'll be interested to see if there are some late additions before the season starts. She's done a great job in acquiring talent in, by any means necessary, not only through high school, but through the portal. And I don't think she's done there.
Expect big things from the Lady Tigers. Now, see, again, this is why we have Mike Gittens here to get you ready, need to know about it. Real quick, though, kind of a big picture part of this. We saw women's basketball's popularity explode with the likes of Angel Reese, what South Carolina's been doing for so long, and of course, Caitlin Clark. Do you think that that kind of attention to the sport is going to help Auburn's women's program get the headlines and the spotlight that it desperately so deserves?
I think so. And, college fandom is so underrated. Look, the WNBA has been a league losing money for, almost every year they've been in existence. And now you're seeing an influx of cash because of what's happening on the college level. You mentioned Angel and you mentioned Caitlin. Make no mistake, it's their college fans that have followed them to the WNBA that is the reason that you're seeing such an explosion of attention for that sport. That's going to continue. Look, college fans are different, Rex. They root for the pure passion of it. The WNBA is a young league, and they need that boost from the college fandom following their favorite players to the WNBA, and that's how that viewership will continue to grow, in my opinion, as people begin to enjoy the game for what it is. Like, they may not be as athletic as the men. They may not be able to do the things athletically that some of the men can do, but certainly with the proliferation of like logo threes and shooting and things that they do that are super exciting, I think you're going to see a lot of attention come to the sport. It's going to help Johnnie Harris recruit. And I mentioned Deanna and Talia, you're talking about two potential future WNBA stars that she has on her roster here that will certainly help them in the future.
That is already exciting me right there, that you have two stars from the Plains go straight to the WNBA and make an impact. I mean, we've seen some superstars come through Bruce Pro squad and make some noise in the league. So excited for that. But of course, my friend Mike, we got to talk about football. Auburn,
Yeah.
a little bit of a break. So, take a little bit of a breather. What have you heard? How has Coach Freeze used this bye week to kind of recalibrate a season? I wouldn't necessarily say in a tailspin, but obviously disappointing is one way to describe it. How have they kind of used this week to recalibrate?
I think tailspin is fair. Look, obviously you've got a big game versus Mizzou. You're 2-4 right now. You're coming off a bye week. What he said at the press conference on Monday is, look, if we have another situation like we had against Georgia, where we're in a critical 4th and 1, and guys don't know what to do, Rex, he's going to be really disappointed. And I'm not sure disappointed is the word he used there, but obviously it's going to be very frustrating for a head coach that feels like he simplified this offense down to only the things that they should feel like they're good at. And they have not been able to execute in critical moments. Now, nobody expected Auburn to beat Georgia, but going into that fourth quarter, they had a chance to make it a one-score game. And you got confusion with your quarterback. They feel like they cleaned up those things here in the bye week, and they needed this bye week badly before going to Columbia. Now, Missouri is coming off a tough loss, 2 weeks ago to Texas A&M. Obviously, they had a cupcake last week, but this is a beatable team. This was a team that was firmly in the top 10. They've dropped since that loss to Texas A&M. But if you're Auburn, you got to get this game. You have to get it. I think he's stressing the importance to his team. He's trying to keep hope alive and morale up in that locker room. If you lose to Missouri, I think all chances of making a bowl game absolutely die, because they pretty much just have to clean the slate from here to get to the postseason.
And I think you're absolutely right, too, that this is a get-right game, not only for Auburn, but I think Mizzou is also looking to make a statement. Is there anything with the Mizzou Tigers? You did mention earlier, look, you called it like you see it, right? You thought they were a fraud team. They go up to College Station, get their teeth knocked in. So, fair. Is there a team that is coming off that, they obviously, with their cupcake, just railroad them? Could they be coming in to this game making a statement? And is that something Auburn should be on the lookout for?
Yes, absolutely. Look, Eli Drinkowitz still has a very talented squad. He's got one of the best QB wide receiver combinations in the country, Brady Cook and Luther Burden. Luther Burden is an absolute stud. They're going to try to get the ball to him. I think where Missouri is soft is on the offensive line. I've talked to people who follow that program, and they've said we're worried. We're a little worried about protecting Brady Cook. Now, where does that play into Auburn's hands? Keldrick Falk is getting after the quarterback right now. The young defensive end is getting after it, and he is causing havoc in backfields for Auburn's opponents. Through 6 games, Auburn has only allowed more than 400 yards to opponent defensively once, and that was New Mexico. A Power 5 opponent has not exceeded 400 yards on Auburn yet this season. So DJ Durkin's squad is getting it done. Can you get in there and disrupt what Mizzou is trying to do? I think that's what Auburn is going to have to focus on here. Limit the scoring, because you have an offense that's struggling to score right now, and you've got to help them as much as possible.
We know that, as you mentioned, I think recruiting is a perfect way to kind of end this episode of War Rapport Wednesday. When Deuce signed to say, like, I want to be an Auburn Tiger, I want to come here and make a difference. And you were right that, like, Deuce could look out on the field that maybe I could make an immediate impact. Now we're seeing another big-time wide receiver commit to the Plains. Can you talk a little bit more about that and talk about the momentum that Auburn's momentum in the recruiting world? You would think that, like, the way the season's kind of going, as we mentioned in the tailspin, recruiting would die off. But that's not the case.
Yeah. Thank God for NIL. because money is definitely a factor in this conversation. But the vision that Hugh Freeze has for his squad is also. So if you look at by the numbers statistically, even though the record doesn't reflect it, statistically, this team has improved year over year. And I think that that's one of the things that you have to look at when you're talking about Hugh Freeze's squad. Uh, Again, 2-4 is very, very disappointing result as far as the record is concerned. But, Peyton Thorne he's pacing for well over 2,000 yards this year, and he only passed for 1,700 last year. You've got a receiver on pace for 1,000 yards this season. Auburn hasn't seen that since 1999. Keandre Lambert-Smith is looking to achieve that. You've got a running back on pace for 1,000 yards rushing this season. It's working in a way, but play calling and situational awareness has limited the Tigers' results at the end of games, and that's what they're trying to fix. So again, with recruiting, it's one of those you may feel like you're a quarterback away, given where the stats are at. Could Deuce Nice be the difference? Because if you're Hugh Freeze, you're telling them, look at that 4th-and-1 versus Georgia. If I have you in there, you make the right decision, and we maybe come back and win that game. But playmakers make plays. Hugh Freeze believes he needs more of those to get the job done, and I think that Deuce Knight and a lot of these kids coming in think they can be those playmakers.
He's here, he's there, he's literally everywhere. Mike Gittens is a beast and incredible job with the War Report. Where can they find you online, my friend? I want to keep people informed and aware. Where can they find you and the War Report and all the great things that you do?
Go check us out on YouTube at The War Report, every social media platform. We're TW Report on TikTok. Also, follow me on Twitter at Mike Gittens. Rex, I'm starting a new project now, actually covering the UCF Knights. So go check that on YouTube. It's Locked On UCF. We're going to be bringing the UCF fans in this area. Lots of great coverage on their team as well. So the work never stops.
The man doesn't stop at all. I think he literally has Energizer batteries in his back. But shout out to UCF. Had a local guy in Kobe Hudson out there doing great things.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to True County as well. All right, y'all. That'll do for another War Report Wednesday.